Wowzer, it is finally here. I thought we were in the offseason, and I missed the rest of the playoffs. Coach Goff took over the show last week, and my family keeps sending me Christmas present lists. I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to buy Christmas presents before the MLS Cup, am I? It's never happened before. The season that never ends continues to chug onward, and it is a good thing we are not done because other clubs keep putting out their end-of-year roster moves while Pat Noonan and company hit the books to solve the Philly problem they ran into last year. No surprises in the East, folks. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. They are who we thought they were. You know, it's like playing a whole regular season already showed us who the best teams were, and none of this really has mattered. But that doesn't sell as well, I suppose, and we all get to do extra podcasts out of the deal. So what is there really to complain about? You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the show that has covered FC Cincinnati since it was just a tiny baby living in Jeff Birding's noggin. We are happy to still be at it, sharing our thoughts with those that tune in. Welcome, everyone tuning in live, and of course, you, dear podcast listener. Let's dive into the difficulty that faces FCC, and to do so, I need a cast of hosts that know everything there is to possibly know about Cincinnati and Philly. Okay, maybe we'll bring in a guest for, some of the other playoff teams later in the show. But first up, welcome in Brian Biedenbach, our FCC expert.
Hey, good to be here, guys. It's been too long. I'm feeling the withdrawal from soccer and looking forward to finishing out this big Thanksgiving week with the match on Saturday.
I know. I feel like I had to reintroduce myself to you guys before the show. Like, hey, my name's Boston. How we doing?
All playing with our equipment, make sure it works right.
Yeah.
It's been too long since we've been using it.
I mean, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I was on here last week.
Oh, yeah.
That was your choice, though.
The disrespect to Coach Brad Goff and talking tactics is real. I'll tell you what, the guy went on a Philly podcast today, representing CST, and Boston.
That was
just
good.
backhanded him, man. I'll tell you what.
Oh, that voice you hear is Brian Weigel, the new co-host of Talking Tactics. Great show last week, buddy.
Yeah, right.
I listened.
Dude, his brain is so much just better and can form thoughts so much more clearly than myself when it comes to football and this beautiful game. So it's like, it's so intimidating. I don't know how Nate and I don't know how Justin do it. I really don't.
Yeah.
It's fun though. So
yeah, I think it was a good idea, introducing that show to. We have a lot of new listeners that probably had no idea there was another CST podcast out there on its own channel.
It's so fun. Like, I mean, we kind of take it for granted. Like, you listen to it every week or whatnot, but then like you let Coach go out to the real world and talk to like people from Philly, like he did today, and you're just like, holy crap, that guy knows what he's talking about. I mean, I always love Coach. But...
Yeah. And then, of course, the king of online soccer banter is back and gracing us with his presence, Mr. Jason Ashcraft.
Glad to be here, guys. I got a hefty glass of $5 wine, so I'm ready to do this thing.
You're really splurging for the show.
I am, yeah.
I did hear cost for food was cheaper this Thanksgiving season, so glad you have a $5 glass or bottle.
Yeah,
right.
Wow. I very rarely go above $6. It all tastes the same, and that's actually been scientifically proven.
Does your back hurt though? Because Kroger puts those $5 bottles all the way at the bottom of the shelf, right?
My wife is only 5'2". I make her reach down.
So the $5 bottles, you just get more headaches the next morning, I hear. So
yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
That's great. I actually, Brian, you mentioned Talking Tactics last week. It was an awesome show. I listened to it while I waited for Apollo home. You might think this is an ad read. You're mistaken. I'm going off script. They have no idea I'm doing this. But my house decided to start blowing fuses this past week when my furnace kicked on. Luckily, I work for CST, and I knew Apollo would save the day. So I had an electrician and an HVAC. I called them out twice. Both had to come out to give me peace of mind that my house wouldn't burn down. Thanks, guys, for not judging me, at least to my face, but they reassured my paranoia that my house would not. Basically, that I wouldn't be homeless next week. So appreciate it.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle you can get this podcast produced every week, Boston. I can't believe it.
I know, right? But no, shout out to them coming through in a clutch. All right, guys, let's get into best and worst is going to be complicated because we've been off a few weeks. I don't even know if you guys remember the segment. You're a little rusty. So instead, we will do a thankful for and favorite Thanksgiving Day dish. We're going to go full holiday mode here. Brian Weigel, we'll start with you, sir.
Well, I'm trying to figure out a YouTube issue here real quick, but I'm going to freestyle it with some thoughts from my memory. I'm going to say I'm thankful for Aaron Bupenza. There's all this hatred. I don't know if that's the right term or whatnot, but there's a lot of people talking about Aaron on the internets this past week, and I think we got to stand stand up a little bit for Aaron. We don't know what all's going on out there, but all I know is when the guy's on the field, he produces. He's had, I think, 9 goal contributions of some kind over the past like 900 minutes. So, I mean, the dude's clearly bringing it on the field for FC Cincinnati, and that's all I can ask for. He tries stuff. It's kind of the same thing with Lucho at the beginning. He tried stuff, didn't necessarily come off, but he's going to find his form. And as long as he keeps putting balls in the back of the net like he did versus the Red Bulls this past week, plus penalty, I'm all for the guy. So thank you, Aaron Bupenza, for coming to FC Cincinnati and trying and hopefully leading us to a championship a lot more than your predecessor Brenner could do, who, fun fact, was the starting forward the last time we played Philadelphia in this stadium. So I thought that was very interesting. So Aaron Bupenza, baby. Love you. Thankful for you. Did we say desserts too? We're going to do it now?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I was paying attention for a second. Hey, dude, you got to do what you got to do. I think pumpkin pie, because I think, smooth, not too unhealthy, not too rich, just put a little whipped cream on there on top, savor the whole moment, good from the front to the back, just like our FC Cincinnati team, and kind of looks the Cincinnati team with that orangish color. So pumpkin pie, my favorite Thanksgiving dish.
Nice. Well, appreciate that, Brian. I think there was a time fans of this club wished we had players that would try things that were maybe going off script. So I can see the thankful for thisness as well. Now we have almost too many players going off script, but that's better than not enough, I would say. All right, Jason, we'll move to you next.
Oh man, I'm thankful that we actually have soccer this weekend. The what was it, 2.5 3 week break? That was killing me. I love other sports. I got plenty of college basketball, some football in there, a little bit of hockey even. But this break just kind of killed the momentum of the playoffs for me. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that later. But I'm just so happy that we're going to be able to go down to TQL Stadium, bundle up hopefully, and watch. Hopefully, knock on wood, FC Cincinnati advance in the playoffs this weekend. So if you do follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter, you know that much like another Cincinnati soccer podcast host on another podcast, I am vehemently anti-Thanksgiving. It is my least favorite holiday. It's awful. Sorry. So most of the food is bland mush, and you would be better off going to Cracker Barrel.
Wow.
But I will say that I am a dessert fan. You can tell by looking at me. Love my desserts. I will go sweet potato pie. It's got the same consistency as pumpkin. You can put the same stuff on it. I just think it's a little sweeter, a little less cinnamony, but that's my go-to for Thanksgiving.
So, you can still freestyle like Thanksgiving, right? You don't have to eat turkey. Just go bring the beef tenderloin like I am, big guy. Just gotta up your game.
I would love that. I one year when I was a kid, my uncle went duck hunting and brought a duck to my granny's Thanksgiving dinner. And you would have thought that he had like just lit her house on fire, but it was the best Thanksgiving dish that I had had in my entire life. Just get a duck. It is the best poultry. Turkey is way down on the list.
100% agree with you.
We usually do ham at my house, I think, at this point. So there's too many Thanksgivings.
That's the worst part of the pig, too. I'm sorry.
What? Man, Jason, you're just full.
Jason's
normally I like your takes. But
ham should only be put on sandwiches. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're just killing the vibes, man.
You're not Evan Laurel.
What did pilgrims do to you? That's what I want to know. Jason would have been at the first Thanksgiving, like Like, people would have gave him corn. He'd be, get this away from me.
I mean, at the first Thanksgiving, the people giving corn would have kept the pilgrims from starving. So that was,
just feed the guy more wine. He'll be happier man. $5 wine, no, not $6 wine, $5 wine.
I think you need some cheer wine, and that's about it.
Yes,
that stuff is great. That is a top tier soda.
If you were about to say that stuff was bad, I was gonna drive to her.
If you've had it in a float, a cheer wine float, it will change your life.
Glass bottle.
I was just in North Carolina this last weekend and brought home a case of cheer wine for my boys because they love it, and that's the only place we, at least so far, know where to get it. So,
yeah, I went to school in South Carolina for 4 years, and we drank the stuff religiously. But it's pretty much in that area, throughout that area. I think cookouts now have it, and cookouts are everywhere. Starting to creep.
No, they're not everywhere, but they need one in Cincinnati, and I will visit it every day.
They're in Knoxville, Tennessee now, so they're getting pretty far north.
They are.
Lexington this way.
That's where I'm going for Thanksgiving, by the way, guys. Knoxville, Tennessee, visiting family this year. So I'm thankful for that, and thankful for FC Cincinnati realized that how much I hate off seasons. Off seasons. I mean, the first month I'm okay with off seasons. Second month, third month, it starts to really wear on me, and I miss soccer a lot, and I want to get back into it. So MLS, FC Cincinnati have graciously just eliminated pretty much the whole off season by making eternally long playoffs. So I appreciate it, guys. I see what you're really doing there. People are complaining, but really, it's just that you're trying to make sure we fans don't have an off season, and then we're going to move right into CONCACAF and all that. So, February soccer, I'm thankful for February soccer in the snow in Cincinnati. I'm not going to complain one bit. I don't know. Thanksgiving food, I'm pretty much the opposite of Jason, except my family does this weird thing where we make our own noodles with gravy-ish style noodles. And I have learned since when I've gone to other people's houses and when I got married and introduced my wife's family to it, they thought it was pretty weird. So I guess it's not a normal Thanksgiving thing, but it's something we do. All right. Who are we missing? We're missing Brian, the other Brian.
Yeah, so mine's kind of strange and a little off script, but thankful for adversity and a team that's willing to fight through it. I think we've seen it for years, the adversity we faced, and teams that just kind of threw in the towel. This year, our team has continued to fight, but also on a personal note, just recently that word just keeps coming to mind. My kids have faced a lot of that this season, and the teams that they've been a part of, and just seeing how they've fought through it and faced it head on and have become better people and better players on the other side of it. So that's a little odd, but I'm thankful for that this year. And so my favorite desserts, I don't know that I've seen this anywhere else, but we have this layered Jell-O dessert. It's a 7-layer or 12-layer, or I don't even know what it is. Every layer is a different color, and it's just there's a layer in between each layer that's just a little sweet, and love it. I don't normally love Jell-O, but that's kind of my go-to dessert before I get to the chocolate or the peanut butter pie as a secondary dessert on Thanksgiving.
Is it with or without cat food in it?
What's that? Without cat food. Without cat food. Yeah.
Aunt Grace.
Nice reference.
Oh shoot. Hey dude, it's that time of the year for the best movie ever. So love it. All right, guys. Well, it comes to one of my favorite times of each show. We are going to be bringing on our special guest from MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. And for this special evening, we are very excited to bring on Steve Cangelosi, our one of the best play-by-play commentators in all of the game in the U.S. We are very, very excited to have Steve on. Of course, Steve's making another appearance to Cincinnati Soccer Talk again this season. So, Steve, how you doing?
I'm fine. I can't top that introduction. Can I leave now?
Hey, man, when I heard you were going to be doing the games, I was on cloud nine, among other things going on. It's a special day for me. My son's going to be part of the walkout crew walking out with the team this Saturday. So good to have you on TV. So it's going to be a great thing. So, man, you were calling all the games with Columbus and Atlanta. I mean, you're going from two offensive juggernauts to some of the better defensive teams. I mean, I don't know if we can be expecting a 5-2, 4-3 game here, but what was it like calling those thrilling matches earlier in the playoffs?
Well, when Danny Higginbotham, my partner, and I were assigned that series, we immediately said, we don't know that we have the two best teams remaining, but we do know that we've got the series that lends itself to the most excitement. And they did live up to that billing, right? Over the 3 games, they scored 14 goals, and it was pulsating back and forth. And even when it was a 4-1 game in the decisive game 3, and it seemed like Columbus had control of this thing. And Atlanta scores to make it 4-2. And right away, you're saying, this thing is not over yet, only because we know the dynamic of the two teams. They both go for it. Atlanta was the second highest scoring team in the league. Columbus was the highest scoring team in the league. So it wasn't really until that safe space in the game, 89th, 90th minute, where you kind of got the sense this is it, Columbus is on its way. But you talked about the dynamic of this Cincinnati-Philadelphia game, and if you do know what to expect, if you really do believe that this game on Saturday night is going to absolutely have a defensive characteristic about it, then you're one step ahead of me. Because I've gone back and forth on this. I do know the DNA of these two teams. I know what their strengths are. I know that they're both willing and able to win an ugly game if that's the way they have to win it. But guys, without Miazga, without Glesnes, without Wagner being part of this, Hagelin has been out for a while now and his season is over. It would not shock me if one or both of these teams on Saturday night step outside their comfort zone and give us a little something that we're not expecting in primetime Saturday night. So I'm your expert guest, and I have no idea what we're walking into. Aren't you glad you booked me for tonight?
I was listening to some Philadelphia podcasts earlier, and it's crazy. I mean, both teams are likely without 2 or more starters on the defensive front. Offensively, getting some players healthy, but it's going to be something to behold. But before we kind of jump down too far into it, what have you personally made of the playoffs so far? These 3-game series, have you liked the storylines that those have brought as a broadcaster?
The 2 out of 3 I love. I love the best of 3 series, and I know there's been pushback on this, and I've listened to the very sage arguments against why we should stop doing this. Personally, I think this is a good thing, and I hope MLS stays with it. I will say that I hope that next year more than 3 of the possible 8 series go to a third and decisive game. You see, I think that these kind of series either create or cultivate and strengthen rivalries, which I still think are the lifeblood of this league. I'll give you an example. I did Red Bulls games for 20 years before the Apple project became the reality of television in this league. And I know some old crusty fans who will tell me DC United is still the rivalry that matters. And then I know the newfangled kids who will tell me that New York City is the rivalry now that trumps everything else. But I don't see it that way. I see the big rivalries for the Red Bulls right now, for instance, to be Philadelphia, Atlanta, and your FC Cincinnati side, because those are the teams that have created the most heartache for that club in recent years. So I think that's a good thing. The one thing I'll tell you that I think has to be looked at is the incongruity of the time between games, which I think has to be addressed by the league. So we see this Philadelphia side that had 11 days between its first match and its second against New England. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was a situation in the LAFC Vancouver series, which was also done in 2 matches where both of those games were played in a span of 4 days. So I think that's something that's not proper, and I would hope the league looks at that. But the actual format going 2 out of 3 into single elimination. Guys, I have no problem with that. I actually think it's a good thing and an exciting thing.
Steve, I'm with you on the 2 out of 3. I think if everything was smashed together a little bit better, I would have absolutely loved it. I think it's a little bit more fair. I'll tell you what scared us as FC Cincinnati fans was going into a single elimination tournament and losing as the number 1 seed in one game, which, I mean, we watched it happen in Major League Baseball this year. Like, so many of the top teams got knocked out right away. And, that made for a great story down in Texas. But I don't know. I think those fans of those teams are like, why did we play such a long year? And then just to have it all erased.
You know what? You bring up an interesting point, because I do think the dynamic on Saturday night is now very different from anything that Cincinnati has experienced in a long time. Obviously, there was margin for error in the series against the Red Bulls, which they did not need. They took care of business in 2 matches, and they're on their way to a conference semifinal. But there's a different kind of pressure here. And there's no doubt who should be favored in this game. It's Cincinnati as the Supporters' Shield winners and the top seeds in the East. I'll share this with you, though. Obviously, one of the big stories here is that Jim Curtin is the man that Pat Noonan is lining up against, and this has a teacher versus the student storyline to it on Saturday night. Philadelphia last year had this tremendous season in which they set club record in points earned, in goals scored, and goal differential plus 46, which in this league is absolutely off the charts. And I remember about a month ago, home stretch regular season, I'm asking Jim Curtin, tell me why we should believe you didn't win it last year when you had the great regular season. Why are we taking you seriously now as a true cup contender? And he made a good point. He said, look at the nucleus of my team. And I'm going to talk about this on Saturday night on the air. He said, and I define the nucleus of his team as Andre Blake, Glesnes and Elliott, Martinez, Bedoya in the midfield, Carranza, and maybe one other player, okay? He said, factor this in. That group of players has appeared in 13 elimination games over the last 2 seasons alone. So he said, we're tournament tested tough. We are accustomed to these situations. Does that give them a big edge Saturday night? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But he does have a group of experienced players who I don't think will wilt in the big moment on Saturday night if this is a tie game or a close game late in the second half. They've got that going for them. And I do think that for a faction of the Cincinnati players who you would define as their core, this is something different than they've experienced up until this point. They're good enough to get through the night, but this is something different than they've experienced to this point.
Yeah, and then these teams just saw each other last year in the playoffs, right? So
yeah.
The only difference is it's at our place now and not in Philly. So I'm interested in seeing how Philly handled TQL and the environment that is Cincinnati. I think it played a part last year. I think going away to Philly played a part, and I'm interested to see if that it also is a dynamic. Like you said, they're a little bit more experienced, so maybe it won't bother them as much. But they did lose the game here in the regular season. Not that means anything now. But
well, Jim Curtin is on the record as saying that he felt that was the hardest game. And think about that for a second. They played this epic MLS Cup final against LAFC, and they lost in a penalty shootout. But when all the dust settled, he reflected on that game against Cincinnati as the true hardest game we played. And I remember Obina Wobodo in the postgame that night saying, yeah, the difference is the Leon Flock goal. We lose 1-0, but guys, I didn't see any difference between the two teams. So here we are now, fast forward a little more of a year later, and it's graduation day now for the Cincinnati team. It's in your place, as you've mentioned, in MLS. That is a very big advantage at this point in the season. I know what the place is. I know what the stadium is. I know what 25,000 in that stadium means to the Cincinnati players. It's a big advantage. And I also think it just comes down to this: who's more dialed in and who is more poised. And by that mean who's least likely to make the mistake that can decide a game. And those are some things you don't know until they roll the ball out on Saturday night.
So you build out your key points going into this match. You're very familiar with the Eastern Conference, seen both these squads numerous times. Is it pretty clear, cut and dry? Which player on each team is the person that you're looking to shine? Who are you trying to dial in for each team as this guy is the key difference maker?
Not necessarily a guy, but you look at the attacking three of each team and which one is going to answer the call on Saturday night, because these are potentially, arguably, two of the best attacking threes that we have in the league. The Philadelphia side is intact from last year, of course, with Carranza, Ua, and Gazdag. And obviously the tweak for Cincinnati is Brenner gone from last year. And now it's that combination of whether it's Bupenza, who I expected to be Saturday night, but I don't know that, or Dominique Badji alongside the other big two. Just in terms of tactics for Cincinnati, when you play the 3-5-2 that Pat Noonan has employed very well, to me that works when you have center backs who are effective and defensive midfielders who are effective, and those players are committed to the cause. And right now, we don't know how Cincinnati is equipped to handle that. The Miazga suspension turns a lot of things on its head. He's Defender of the Year for a reason. And you guys have seen every minute of Cincinnati play this year. I thought Nick Hagland, who's not going to be part of this either, was wonderful in the first half of the season. Jim Curtin actually told me that he thought in the first half of the season he couldn't name 10 center backs better than Hagland when he was healthy. So couple that with Miazga and you have a really big thing. And now neither one of those things are something tangible that we're talking about in this must-win game for Saturday night. So how this plays out is a little bit of a mystery to me. But I don't think there are many secrets here. I didn't hear the latest on Wobodeau. I hope he's physically okay to give everything he has on Saturday night, because I think that creates for the best game possible. I hope Acosta's 100%. I know he was dealing with a couple of things with the ankle injury that he sustained in the first game against the Red Bulls. And for Philadelphia, there are some X factors too. Carranza, who had a hamstring issue that developed after the concussion problem that he had late in the regular season. Is he full throttle? He's ready to go. And these are only things that are going to be answered as we get a little closer to Saturday night. The coaches know each other so well. I think they know potentially the tweak that the other guy can employ at the last moment. But again, I think this comes down to who is best on the day and who's most dialed in at the proper time. To me, this is a fascinating matchup. Blake is one of the best there is. Celentano probably had the better year of the two, so it's hard to even separate that as we go into this game.
Yeah, you hit on the big one. All of us, probably as soon as you log off, we're going to be debating what that back line is like. I think the one good spot you still have is Murphy, who played absolutely great down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So that's your rock, and probably going to be the guy that has to step up and help the other two. And you're going to see some combination of Powell and Gaddis for sure, probably back there. I'll tell you one story. I'm going to give you one storyline you may not have your eye on.
Go ahead.
And just in case this miraculous event happens, you'll be ready for it. Philly fans waited half a decade for Ray Gaddis to score a goal. So if Ray Gaddis scores a goal against them in the playoffs, it'll be the biggest deal ever.
Why not? And, one of the great things about this time of year, and one of the reasons I love what I do, I'm stating the obvious maybe, is that you go in with this with this empty whiteboard, right? As you go into a game, and you don't know what the hero will be, who potentially could be the GOAT, who's going to have a night he remembers for the rest of his life, and who might have one that he prefers to forget for a very long time. I'm hoping to speak with Ray Gaddis tomorrow. I've got some things lined up with FC Cincinnati, including a conversation with Pat Noonan. This is such a weird week, though, guys, as well, in so many different ways. We've got the Thanksgiving holiday coming up on Thursday, which unto itself should not be any great impediment, right? But then you have this incredibly awkward gap between games for these two teams. For Cincinnati, it's 21 days. For Philadelphia, it's 17 days, but maybe for Philadelphia, it's even more because they've only played 4 times in 42 days, including the match that they're going to play on Saturday night. All of that plus players gone with international duty. And this is something that probably affects the Union a little bit more than it does Cincinnati, because Blake and Lowe were with Jamaica. You've got Gazdag with Hungary. Baribo doesn't play a lot, but he's with Israel. Jose Martinez, Venezuela. And then you've got the 2 kids, McGlynn and Harriel, playing for the U.S. under-23 team. And that's good that they're getting game action during this long break. But it also means they're only going to have a couple of days on the back end leading up to this must-win game on Saturday night to actually practice with their teams. There's a lot of unorthodox that leads us into this event on Saturday night, and it's really hard for me to get a grasp on how that's going to affect what we see in terms of quality of performance.
Yeah, you're not kidding. The Philly international break is big. Cincinnati, of course, has Mourinho, also with Venezuela, and a few other players. I think getting Bupenza back early might be a blessing.
Yeah. If there wasn't so much else going on, that might be something of a real talking point leading up to this game. But it's almost like it's 7th or 8th on the list of things, to discuss in any controversial measure going into Saturday night, because there's too many other things that take precedence. The absence of key players, the relationship that the 2 coaches have, the revenge factor for Cincinnati from a year ago, and Philadelphia going into this game, guys, knowing that this was a season in which there was this expectation of winning multiple trophies. And what's happened? They couldn't get Supporters Shield, obviously. They finished 5th in the league table. CONCACAF Champions League, they made a nice run to the semifinals before losing to their nemesis again. And then Leagues Cup, they had the wonderful run before Messi had his day with Inter Miami in the semifinals. So, this is the last chance to salvage hardware for them, which is also kind of a big deal. So the Bupenza arrival, which I understand Chris Albright and Pat Noonan are quite okay with as he comes back to the team from Gabon, I think it's a non-factor going into Saturday night.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a couple other interesting pieces that both teams are going to look substantially different when it comes to 2024, with several big pieces leaving Cincinnati, and then of course with Kai Wagner possibly not returning, Bedoya not having his contract picked up. So it's going to be a very interesting look at these 2 teams in the future. Speaking of another kind of tear down project, rebuild project, as the former club that you worked for, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, the sporting overhaul at New York Red Bulls. Of course, they also replaced who I thought did a admirable job with the ingredients he had with Troy Lassan being dismissed this past week. What's your thoughts on that whole rebuild, and why should we start getting scared for Red Bulls even further in the future?
Well, whether or not they're true to their word and they open up the bank and acquire players of significance is something that remains to be seen. Emil Forsberg is the big rumor. That's a big positive step for them if that does come to fruition. Troy Lassan did a good job. I think everybody is on board with that. And I think there was this this overstated expectation of him coming back. And I only say that because I always thought that Jochen Schneider, the head of sport for Red Bull, was going to have to make this next move as delicately as he possibly could. And I cannot tell you with certainty whether or not going back to the ownership in Austria and telling them that the person who was originally hired as the third assistant to Gerhard Struber is the man who's going to take us into the future would have been a dialogue that would fly with Red Bull Global. Maybe it would have. Troy, I think, did everything he could in a difficult spot in a short amount of time. I think he's a tangible candidate for a lot of the other jobs that are open in MLS. And I think he'll probably have motivation to prove to a lot of people, hey, the folks in New York made the wrong decision when they opted not to bring me back. But I was never certain that that was going to be the case. They need to address a lot of things moving forward. And I think this is the biggest thing. You can make a commitment to spending. You can acquire the right players. But I'm wondering in the back of my mind if this style of play is conducive to getting this team over the top. This absolute commitment to we're going to be the best pressing team in MLS. We are going to be on the same page with all of the other Red Bull teams globally, whether that's Leipzig in Germany or Salzburg in Austria. Is that still serving the greater good in Major League Soccer? I think that's the question that really has to be answered first before any good things can happen. This is an MLS original franchise that's still seeking its first major trophy beyond a supporter shield. And the fan base is tired. They're not tired of losing. They're tired of being kind of teased that they're being told all of the mechanisms are being triggered to win. But then I think they take a breath and say, well, no, that wasn't the case. So there's a lot to do there. Forsberg coming aboard and Gulashi, the goalkeeper, if he's acquired, those are two big steps. But guys, I'm more interested in the approach of how they play moving forward. I think that's the most fascinating thing.
Amen. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. Well, before we get you out of here, Steve, do you have a spot in Cincinnati yet? When you fly in, you got to go there yet? Have you developed a travel habit yet with Cincinnati?
You know what? I've been traveling for the last 25 years for my job, and every city seems to be the same. 36 hours from touchdown to takeoff, and it's a tarmac, a hotel lobby, a meal in the hotel bar, and then I'm in bed preparing with notes. So not a lot, but I'm open to all suggestions if you have one, guys.
Oh, man, I guess it depends where you stay. But Boston, you're the man downtown.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. It just so happens that stadium is smack dab in an amazing neighborhood, and so you can shoot. I think it's over 100 bars and restaurants in a mile to perimeter of the stadium. So
I think I've been in Cincinnati 3 times this year, and it's interesting. The first time we were there, we were over the river in Kentucky.
That's right.
And again, it was all put together last minute, and then we got into the inner city, Danny and I, the last 2 times we were there. So I'm going to make the effort to explore beyond, the McCormick and Schmick's that might be on the corner.
I was just going to say, we'll get Tommy to take you to the precinct and make everything good for you. All right, guys. Well,
I
Steve,
have my call with Tommy on Friday. We always do. We always kind of share ideas. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much. And guys, make sure to follow him on social media. I got his Twitter handle there, Canty Apple, CANTY Apple. And Steve, we appreciate your time, man.
Can't wait to get to Cincinnati, guys. Take care.
All right, thanks, sir.
See you. Thanks so much. All right, and that's an awesome interview. Thank you, Steve, for swinging by.
No, he's the best.
Yeah, and such a great, knowledgeable, way better than we could have done. I think all of us are humble enough to admit that.
Well, so I think we've been pretty blessed so far with a lot of the Apple people.
Mhm.
Steve, to me, by far, I mean, you see it with him getting the calls for Atlanta and Columbus, and now us in Philly. I mean, to me, he's, if not, everybody says the Taylor Twellman partnership is probably A1, but to me, Steve and Danny are truly amazing. So
One of the best voices by far,
No doubt.
in broadcasting for MLS.
Well, this is one of those games, especially if we win, that I'm going to be at the game live, watch it, and then probably be so hyped, if the stars align, that I come home and just watch it again. I might get the version of Steve.
I've done that a few times
right after the game, to be honest with you. So we'll see. All right, he went over a lot of storylines, and he did an amazing. I think he's got like every storyline ready to go for that pre-match show, for during the match. So what is the one you guys are most looking forward to? Because there are a lot here.
I think for me, it's what is going to happen with the back lines. I wanted him to go into that a little bit more. He mentioned it a couple times, but with both teams missing some of the best players, not just on their team, but in the league itself, and knowing that both teams are fairly defensive, but we do have offensive firepower. I think, I'm anxious to see if there's going to be a lot of goals scored because of the missing defenders, or if we're going to make some adjustments and bunker down even more because we know we've got holes.
It is risky, right? Like what he mentioned, like changing. I really think you could catch Jim Curtin off guard if FC Cincinnati decided to play like Columbus, for example. Columbus is all offense, and their center backs are non-existent in some of these games.
So yes, I mean, how do you make us more offensive though? Put Yakubo in for Obi?
Yeah, I guess that's what you'd have to do. Is you'd have to come out of the gate saying, "Hey, Acosta, Bupenza, go for it from the rip," and then pulling them away.
I have a terrible whiteboard right here, but it's Arson Mascara is the key storyline for this week, fellas. Is the guy going to be able to command the middle? Ian Murphy on one side, who's going to be the other? It's going to be Ray Gaddis. It's going to be Alvis Powell. Our two wingbacks here. I think it's on Yerson. Is he going to be able to clog that middle when he's got Ura, Carranza, and Gazdag coming down his throat? You got the probably Ura and Carranza, running across the lines, checking off of the other two center backs. Can he stay home? And I mean, he's explosive. He's athletic. Can he close down that space early and limit chances? That's where the game is going to be won or lost defensively for us.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you aren't in like Miyazaki's case where you're the 3 yellow card accumulation, and so therefore he's not playing, but yellow cards have been wiped out for this match, right?
Yeah,
completely wiped.
So yeah, like I agree with you all. The big storyline is the back line, but I would say storyline 1A is what does that midfield do to take care of the back line as well. So I would never play without Obi in any way, shape, or form unless you're chasing a goal. That's going to be my question. Like, is Obi playing? How deep is he going to go back? How is Junior going to back him up? I think we're going to maybe see the guys they're going to press more or they're going to hold back a little more. I know that's like hard hitting analysis from Jason.
Well, okay, so let me follow up with that though, Jason. Your strategy or your preferred strategy is having the 2 defensive midfielders pinch back, allowing our wing backs to bomb up the field to give that extra pieces of the attack, and just say Philly beat us from the flanks with your backup wing backs.
Yeah, I mean, if you can clog up the middle, if you can keep Philly out of the middle, I have enough trust in our wing backs to get back if that is going to happen. So yeah, I'm all about pinching the midfielders back if we can.
Yeah, Obi and Arias are your big question marks. FC Cincinnati is playing this very, very close to the chest. You heard Steve. Steve doesn't even know. what exactly is going on. We haven't seen Obi on the practice field. I don't know about you guys. I had a sense of false confidence after the last match where I was like, we got 3 weeks. Everybody will be fine. We'll be good to go. Those 3 weeks passed a little bit quickly when it came to the injury bug, at least, because we still haven't seen what I want to see. And I don't know if it's just Pat saying, hey, Jim, I'm not going to let you know what's going on, or if Obi really is going to be like a last-minute call. If Obi's out, then you almost have to go full Kubo and go offense and try to score your first goal.
We beat him without Obi in April. Now, also Gazdag and Carranza didn't play till the 60th minute, but hey.
And we also had
I'm going to cherry pick that.
April.
Right.
What? Yeah.
We also had a full-strength back line
Right.
in April, basically. I think
stop harshing my buzz.
Didn't Noonan say, and this gave me a little bit of heartburn. Didn't Noonan say in like the interview on Winalda's podcast that had they gone to a third game, there was probably some guys that they were going to have to sit just because they needed the rest. So I'm thinking Obi is probably one of those guys, and maybe they're just like, take some time off. We're going to ease you back into it because, we beat them in April without Obi, true, but I'm much more confident in any match with my boy Obi on the field.
They were just beat up. I mean,
Right.
you play the New York Red Bulls. You're going to come out of those games beat the crap up, and so I think everyone in the city of Cincinnati is grateful there was not a third Red Bull game. Who knows what would happen in that?
My wallet was grateful too.
On the other side of that, you look at Lucho. He's been nursing an injury to his heel for who knows how long. And the fact that he's had 3 weeks to rest, maybe he's coming back 100%, and we'll see something out of him that we haven't seen in quite a while.
Honestly, Brian, and my thing is, I always make this joke, it's sticky foot Lucho. If we got sticky foot Lucho, we're going to win, which means the ball sticks to his feet, his tricks pull off, and, he's a magical man. He creates stuff out of nothing. With 3 weeks off, man, is his touch going to be there? Is he going to be confident on the ball? I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most about Lucho. I mean, fortunately, I think we have the talent with him, with Bupenza, with Barrial, Vasquez. I think I feel a little bit more comfortable if he's not perfect, but I mean, there's never a perfect formula when you're taking 3 weeks off. Now, the one thing being said is maybe if you give, Obi a shot and you keep him away from the training center that they can't drug test him, that he'll come back and be out of his system. HGH, I heard, can be gone like 10 days, but hey, we'll see.
This is the guys. Something's gonna happen here. It's gonna be magical. Either Ray Gaddis scores his first goal, or Alvis Powell finally rockets the moonshot in the Either of those things happen, and we got it. We got it in the bag.
Why can't you just say a Roman Celentano full distance goal, man? It's supposed to be kind of crazy weather anyway, I think so.
Well, the good news is Philly is missing some players too.
Yes.
So, and I like our front three better than their front three. So yeah, I'm hoping, like Steve said, if it becomes a shootout, I'm much more confident in our guys in a shootout.
Versus Philly, but in a shootout versus Columbus, then I start getting a clenched sphincter.
Yeah, but you don't want one of those matches where they're sitting on the ball and just just in our final third. We will be in trouble if that happens, no matter, in my opinion, no matter who the final. So
one thing Steve said was he felt comfortable with the experience of that core of Philadelphia. But the thing is, and I think this is why we lost last year, is the depth issue. So you took Yakuba out of the whole equation last year. He had a family emergency, so he couldn't come on later in that game and change the tempo. Well, we clearly saw playing against their, I don't say back half of their 18, but let's just call that, in April, we were able to pretty much control that game. I think it was 1-0, but I think there's like 2 called back goals, something like that. So I'm fine lining up against Leon Flock with Quinn Sullivan, Connor Donovan. I mean, I think the factors, if this game's 2-2, 1-1, and we're able to bring in, an Alvis Powell, a Yuya Kubo, a Santos, a Baji, I think we have those pieces. At least I'm wishful thinking maybe that we have those pieces that are more capable pros than some of the younger guys that Philadelphia can bring on. Now, those are talented guys, but I kind of like our boat with those pieces, and we've had the Miami game, we've had the the Leagues Cup games. I think we've been tested enough.
Yeah, we'll go into the depth a little bit more real quick. Let's give a shout out to Beyond Exercise, the local physical therapy and fitness business that's sponsored Cincinnati Soccer Talk for a while now. They help anyone and everyone stay active and get active. In fact, they've helped Nick Hagelin and Brandon with their physical therapy and strength changing during the off season, and they probably will here coming up again. They're offering a $50 discount for their ACL injury prevention screening, which was piloted with both Nick and Brandon. Learn more at gobeyondexercise.com. And thanks again for sponsoring Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, probably one of the biggest differences, Brian, you touched on this at the top of the show. We need Bopenza. We need Bopenza to show up. And Vasquez hasn't been around for a few games, or at least he's been playing more of a decoy role. Who breaks out here, and who do you need to break out?
Well, it's tough to be a forward versus Red Bull, man. They're always pressing you. There's always going to be contested balls. There's, not much of time to really, as a forward, get on the ball, get comfortable. I mean, it's all, those slight chances, and he just didn't have those, those opportunities. I really like the fact that we might be able to run at Philadelphia. I'm on the Bopenza hype train right now, man. Let him prove the doubters wrong. Let him show off. Let him show who the best Gabonese, did I say that right, Jason? Forward in the league is. So, yeah, I'm all for this guy, and I hope he scores buckets here the rest of these playoffs because he's got the talent to do so. I mean, as I said, he's putting – I think Pat Brennan put a great tweet out there too. I mean, the guy's putting up numbers. I mean, really, it's like every 90 minutes or minute or hour and a half, whatever, or no, sorry, 2 hours. God, if I could do math, that'd help. He's putting up stats, either creating goals for others or himself. And I mean, without that frenetic Red Bulls team, without, the inconsistencies of the lineup over the last 5-6 games in the regular season, I feel very confident that he's going to put some results up.
Yeah. And then Steve mentioned it in the show. We're going up against one of the top goalkeepers. Those little dink and dunks through the near corner when you're running at the goalkeeper or just shooting it down the middle. I just don't think these type of things are going to work. You're going to need a Costa Barrial specials, Bopenza's magic. I think you're going to have to start putting this thing in the corners. That's just a gut feeling I have.
No, talent, 100%, Brian, talent. And I'm with you. Bopenza needs to start. I think also he's the type of player that you can see go out there and try to smack them in the mouth right away and do something a little maybe irrational, but go out there and try to score quickly and in a good way, and I also like the idea that you do have Baji on the bench. So that if this game does go deep, into maybe extra time and God help us penalties, you got another guy on the bench that you could bring in for that.
Santos disrespect.
Yeah.
Guy made a PK,
I like Sergio Santos. I do. But I like that we have that option this year. Last year when we played Philly, we didn't have that kind of bench to bring in on the offensive side of things. So, yeah, I'm 100% on the Bopenza hype train. Have been all year. Glad that he's back a little early. Sorry it didn't work out in Gabon, but hopefully you'll get your chance to play for him in the World Cup if they qualify. So
we might see them all. If we're down a goal in the 70th minute, you're going to get Santos, Baji, Vasquez, Bopenza, Costa.
I put this show Safe for Kids on YouTube, and I'm about to break that.
Can I take us off script just slightly because I do have a question.
Go for it. Yeah, let's do it.
So I am an anxious person by nature.
Couldn't tell.
What is everyone's vibes right now? Like level of anxiety about this match, because this is in my lifetime the first time in a long time that a team I really cared about is like a legit championship contender, not like the Reds squeaking in for a wild card or something like that. So where are you on a scale of like 1 to 5 in anxiousness level for this match?
Jason's
I'm at a
clearly not
4.5.
You're clearly not a Bengals fan, are you?
Hey, I am a Bengals fan, so I know what to expect.
Guess they weren't competing for a championship 2 years ago.
You know what I mean. That was very surprising.
Just like my college GPA, Jason, 0.0. That's how nervous I am for this game.
I've been accused of being an eternal optimist, even in the years when the Bengals themselves were terrible, always hoping for that win on Sunday. I think I'm probably a 2 as far as anxiety about this game. I think there's a chance that we fold and something happens bad along that back line, but I think the pieces we're missing, I think we've got the depth to fill them more than Philly has to fill the holes that they have. So I think we're going to come out swinging and put some goals in the first half, hopefully. And so yeah, I'm not too terribly nervous about it, but there's always a chance, right?
I'm gonna go down early, Jason, and have an extra drink to help calm. I'm with you. I'm definitely. I don't know. I like football. I like other sports, but I am far more emotionally invested in FC Cincinnati than anything in the entire world, any other sports team. And so I feel like I personally have a lot on the line, even though I've done absolutely nothing, and the players are the ones that work their butts off. But my heart's in it. My heart's in it big time. And I'll feel it. It'll hurt. It'll hurt really bad if something bad happens. But getting past New York does help me, because I was super nervous about those games too.
Yeah.
This has been therapy time with Jason.
All right, so Boston, I want to hear your 0 to 5. How fast is your heart beating when we're in extra time and we have to sub on Alvis Powell or Ray Gaddis or whoever, Dom Baji? You're saying that we're down like 1-0, have to sub on 4 forwards. So what's your heart beating, man? You got to give us a number.
Yeah, I'm really nervous at that point because in my opinion, FCC really needs to be on the front foot. So if we are in stoppage time looking for that goal, I don't really care who the sub is. I'm still looking at Acosta to somehow, or Barreal. It's got to be Acosta, Barreal to somehow save the day, and everybody else just needs to play defense and play interference, in my opinion. But yeah, I think I will feel it beating out of my chest. As Lance McAllister says, my pacemaker will be firing off. So yeah. I can't put a number on it. It's going to be bad, real bad.
So, question. Steve mentioned the battle-tested postseason experience that Philly is bringing to the game, right? What do you think factors more into this match, that the playoff experience or the fact that, and we talked about it the whole first half of the season, right, where we were winning games by 1 goal. We couldn't get multiple goal wins early on because we were battling and we fought. So we've got a team that's battle tested in close games, who finds a way at the end to pull things out typically, versus experience in the playoffs. Which would you take in this match?
I would take the battle tested, but I also think the home field factor is a lot bigger than maybe people want to let on. TQL went from being a very pretty building that FCC played in to being a fortress this year. And I think that I'm with the battle tested team playing in the fortress.
Can you believe Breck Shea used to be part owner of TQL Stadium? I couldn't.
Those pants.
You're right, Jason. In the building, it's not going to be a random June day, where everybody's sitting back enjoying a beer and when we cheer extra loud after a goal. This is going to be lit, and the whole stadium is going to be in it, on their feet. It's probably going to be one of the loudest games we've ever heard. And so the players came out just buzzed after that first New York. We just obliterated that Red Bull team in the first round. And if you look at the trend around Major League Soccer in the playoffs, Columbus and Atlanta is a great one. They just thrashed each other when they were at homes. I think home field is the way to go.
Score first.
Yeah, if Philly has the veteranship to get past that, then that actually might be their strongest advantage. But I think that's a pretty big advantage to overcome, Brian, to answer your question.
I mean, Philadelphia's the team that's going to have the ish-housery to see out games up 1-0 if they are. But I think we also have a little bit of that too in our basket. But I just, at the end of the day, I feel like our talent is superior. And our playmakers, Wagner's a huge loss for them. Yes, Miazga's huge for us too. I was going to ask Steve this, but having that creative piece, that free kick taker, Wagner, man, you can't replace that. So, I mean, that'd be like us losing Alvaro Barreal. How big of a piece off that wing is that? So, yeah, I mean, I wish we had Miazga. I'd feel so much more with that safety blanket there. I think all of us would. But you can't ruin this. My son's walking on the field. We can't lose. You can't have it. Stars are aligning, baby.
Yeah, I think we're even now we're feeling a little bit of that nervous energy. So we'll get there, and hopefully it's all good news. And we're back on here next week talking about how nervous we are for the next one, which could very well be held as real.
Yeah, I might have to be committed for that one if that happens. Hopefully,
Dude,
we play
December.
next time.
We want some December foosball in this city, and I want to be playing Orlando.
Do you?
Yes. It all depends on Miazga's suspension or not. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry. If knock on wood, if we win, the referees union will come out with even more evidence that he forced himself into their locker room.
Steve was like
battering ram and full SWAT gear.
Steve was talking about best rivalries in MLS, and I was going to say, yeah, FC Cincinnati and the refs. There were some questions here or some chats to have us discuss the whole Matt Miazga situation. You can listen to Coach and I's show last week if you want to hear any of that. I think we've all hashed it, but it's unfortunate. I think we all need to have a little bit more personal responsibility, whether that's the fans or the players. And if we're down, don't throw beers on the field. Don't do stupid stuff. We're not Cleveland around here, people. Be a little bit better. Use your words wisely when you're in the Bailey or around the stands. So I guess I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, it'd be great if he was here, and it's partly his fault he's not. So we'll have to manage that and figure out a way through it. But I hope there's the one thing I do hope is that there's no residual referee issues from all of this crap on Twitter.
The residual referee issues have followed us from Pat Noonan getting fined in 2022. So come on, man. It's been happening. Lean into it.
Well, my hope is that the referees we have in the next couple games, are not on Twitter reading everything our fans throw at them.
John Freeman, or I think it's named John. He needs to rescue us and ref this game.
Do we know who the officials are yet? Have those been assigned?
If it hasn't been, it's early in the week. So
it's not Ted Uncle.
Yeah, it'll be coming out here shortly.
Hopefully.
So Ted Uncle ref the game back here in April versus these two teams. Yeah, no, it's not up yet. It's not up yet.
Jay Yates, it will never come out that the ref union embellished their story. It will never come out. And I'm a union man.
I think I said this on the I think I said this on the show last week. And I might get my hand slapped or whatever. But Pro and MLS did not know about the instance until that tweet. So that's the only thing that makes me feel maybe a wee bit better about this whole deal.
Yeah. I don't think they went about it the right way because they caught their own employer off guard. That's not the greatest look, but I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to move past it. We're going to get on to at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We have to win this game without him, and then we'll figure it out. The only thing I will say about it is I find it interesting. MLS has not announced anything whatsoever. So if theoretically, if we lost to Philly, I guess that would be an easy out to just announce whatever's going to happen after that. But if we win, then I don't know. Do they hold it another week? is Don Garber just like, I really need Matt in that next game? So it'll be interesting to see what they do and what comes after. I don't know if they'll announce anything until the playoffs are over, to be honest with you.
Well, the good news is that in the East, none of the big market teams are left. So if we were playing like LAFC or Miami or something like that, then then
Yeah.
I'd be worried.
Okay. Well, thank you. Next week, Brian, let's get more into this Columbus Orlando thing because, well, I guess we'll already know, won't we? So,
Yeah.
because I don't know if I agree with you on that. I think Columbus is terrible away, absolutely terrible away, and there's a part of me that we struggled against Orlando. So there's a part of me that really wants to.
We
play
struggle
Columbus.
we didn't have everybody in that game, but we struggle with quality attacking players.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, when they can create little chances out of little openings, that's when we get hurt because we give little openings. We just traditionally haven't given up catastrophic openings. Knock on wood.
It is going to be kind of fun to go to wherever you go pregame, Northern Row or Stillhouse or whatever, and there will be an MLS playoff game.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for our game to start, that's going to be kind of neat because we haven't had Columbus and Orlando play at 5:30, so we haven't really had that all year because of the set times. That's going to be just a nice little spice to the day. You're going to get to watch that match before our match.
Yeah, that's great. Another reason to get down there earlier. Get your seat for that game wherever you go. All right, let's give a shout out to all of our supporters that keep Cincinnati Soccer Talk running. We really appreciate it, everybody. And I know I just sent out the one of the final Growler Cup posts for this match. Hopefully we still have a few more as FC Cincinnati continues in the playoffs. Shout out to Red Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Fight, Christina Sharma, Kyle Paul, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, Ron Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Thomas Steph, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, Dave Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Brad Weigel, Paul Hedger, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery. Let's see here. David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bark Labita, Rob Triple, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Noreen De Moray, Jose, John Cafardi, Olympico, Joseph of Hanger 19, Jackson Fight, Justin Blair, Kyle Phillips, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Coach Clip, Justin Gregory, Scott Dalton, Jason Ashcraft, Jeffrey Tebbets, Troll, Matt Bauer, Pete Koch, Mark Goodsey, Tob, Schreidenbeck. Somebody always corrects me on this every single week. And then, of course, Clifford. I didn't forget about you, buddy. I just bumped you to the end there because you're in here live and want to give you a shout out. All right. I think that's about it. Jason, you want to go off script one more time? Now's your chance. It's
No, I'll save it for my
10:08.
final thought.
All right. Well then we'll roll into your final thoughts. You can start us, bud.
Okay, cool. MLS Cup playoff format. I'm fine with the 3 games, whatever. If that's what you want to do, sure. Give Apple what they want. But we've got Black Friday coming up, which is not a huge day in sports. MLS needs to do everything in their power to have the MLS Cup final on Black Friday. That needs to be their day. They need to own that. I've been shouting this for years. So if that means cutting down the regular season a few games, if that means changing the format of the League's Cup a little bit, get the season over with so that the final is on Black Friday and profit from that. I will never stop beating that drum.
Bro, that screams so hard that we are not a prime league.
Why?
A Friday? Like, really? Come on.
There is literally nothing else going on. NFL added a game. You're right, Jay. NFL added a game because there's nothing else on. Everybody's already home. It's a holiday. If you have it to yourself. Last year, the final for MLS Cup was like early November. Like, election
the World
day.
Cup.
Yeah, I get that, but have it on Black Friday. Just like New Year's Day is Bowl Day, or at least it used to be. Thanksgiving Day is always the Lions playing a game. Christmas Day is always the NBA. Black Friday should be MLS Cup.
Apple, do it Black Friday TV deals as well. Let's sell Apple TVs. Let's do it. Copyright.
All right.
It's my idea, not his.
MLS jerseys, they are selling those because you can get an FCC kit for like $39 right
Oh
now.
my god, I'm so excited that we actually might have some possibility of a jersey before Christmas. So excited. I think Portland's coming out with theirs next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it leaks.
Or this week.
Like,
This week.
yeah.
Oh, did it? Is it already at Footy Headlines have it or something?
Yeah, somebody
Okay.
had it.
All right, Brian Biedenbach, we'll start with you.
Yeah. Nothing profound this week. I'm just glad that soccer is back and FC Cincinnati is playing this weekend. I got something to watch on Saturday. I got something to look forward to at the end of the week and hopefully end of next week.
What gets
as
you into
well.
Cincinnati?
So-
Do we have to make MLS Cup to get you over here?
Oh man, yes, that would be fantastic. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
You
all right.
do realize when we host MLS Cup that we're gonna have like a live show like 3 nights that week before or that week of, and
Yeah.
so you might have to get a hotel room, long stay hotel room.
Right on. I was there for the first one against the Red Bulls. I was there live for that.
Great.
So yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah. All right. Other Bry.
Gosh, I'm just pumped, man. Get to go down with my son again and experience it and have him go out in the field with the players. So fun story. We were at our local club doing the raffle tonight for the walkout. So you had walkout kids and you had the flag kids. And I guess Brian didn't know what was really going on or not putting 2 and 2 together. And they said his name and I'm like, yes. And he's just like looking at me like, okay, yeah, cool. And like 3 minutes later, he comes up to me and goes, why'd they call my name? I was like, you get to walk on the field with the players. And the kid lost it. He lost his ever-loving mind.
How old is little Brian?
He's 8. He's 8.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome. That's big.
dude.
point.
I'm so pumped, man. I can't wait. So I hope it's with FCC, but either way, you don't know which player it's going to be yet, but very excited, man. The stars are aligning. We're going to beat Philly. We're going to take out Orlando and then LAFC. We'll see how that goes. But
aside from Lucho, if you could pick who he walks out with, who you picking?
So that's a tough question. So he is a huge Yakuba fan, but Yuya traditionally does not start. So his first player today, when they asked, was Vasquez, Acosta, then Bupenza.
Okay. Oh, they get to vote?
No, they were just asking.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
So,
All right.
We'll see.
Well, if he gets Andre Blake, maybe he can like trip him. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, some people at the event were telling Brian to say things to Philadelphia players. So,
oh man, that's tough. Could you imagine you're walking out and like you're getting intimidated by a bunch of kids? We hope you lose. You
Kids
suck.
can sometimes say like the most cutting, insulting things to you and just ruin your whole day. So,
I'm totally.
Yeah, if little Brian is with the Philly player and he hits him with like one of those like really obvious kids insults that just messes with the guy's head, go for it.
What could you imagine? Like Philly loses the game, and like they ask like Andre Blake, they're like, "Man, you missed an obvious goal. Like, what's the matter with you?" And he's like, "This kid got in my head."
Is he a ginger too?
No.
I couldn't remember what little Brian was.
Bleach blonde,
Yeah.
blue-eyed boy. So whoever
This little blonde kid looked up at me. Little blonde kid looked up at me and said, "You don't have what it takes," and it just messed with my head the whole game.
That's good. All right.
Lucho's your daddy.
Well, we wish him luck. I'm sure he'll have a great time down there. I'm jealous. I want to be one of those ball kids, man.
That would be so funny if they had adults do that.
No, the kids are already taller than Lucho. He can't really do adults. So
Boston walks out holding hands with Brandon Vasquez.
Have a bunch of like out of shape schlubs like me in soccer uniforms holding hands with the player.
Andre Blake goes, the guy would not let go of me. Wouldn't let go.
all right, we're losing it, but I'm in sync with you guys. I'm ready to get down and see some people and have a cold day. I'm hoping it's not too terrible, but it's 8 p.m. So 8 p.m. in November, late November. It'll be what it'll be, I guess. So let's have a great game and may I see Cincinnati win another playoff game. This time, one game match will take it for all the marbles. And let's have a good show next week, guys. And that's it for us. We will see you next week.